It's time to learn more about how DriveSmart works. L&W uses DriveSmart to encourage safe driving behaviors. The device installed in your company vehicle will take measurements that result in scores on hard braking, speeding, hard acceleration, cornering, and idling. You get a score every day that you drive your company vehicle more than 2 miles per day. The score is generated daily for the previous day's driving. Scores are based on a scale of 100. A driver with the most miles without any events will get a score of 100. A driver will receive a score of 70 if they have 2 driving events per every 100 miles driven. Not all behavior is the same, though. 2 drivers with 0 events should ideally get a score of 100. But what if one driver only drove 10 miles and the other drove 500 miles? To keep the scores fair, drivers are scored based on the miles driven. Measurements also take into consideration the context, which include the space and the time. These help provide a perspective on when the event occurred and how well the driver behaved when conditions were adverse. These factors include the weather, the region, the vehicle weight, etc. The score is the weighted sum of all event scores. Each score is weighted as you see here. When these events are measured, they are not all the same. For braking and acceleration, the device measures how harsh it was. For speeding, what was the maximum speed and for how long? Please make sure that your Azuga device is installed securely on your vehicle. This will help with the accuracy of all measurements. Let's take a closer look at each of the 5 scores. First, braking. Depending on how hard you brake and what rate of speed you were going, a braking event will be determined to be hard braking or hardcore braking. The braking score also takes into account the time of day, high, moderate, or low risk hours, and weather conditions, including snow and rain. The braking score is calculated by taking the sum of all the event scores and normalizing it by the relative miles driven that day. Speeding is calculated by the magnitude of the event, which is calculated by comparing the average speed with the maximum permitted speed and the duration of speeding. This calculation also takes into consideration the speed above the posted speed limit for the road where the speeding occurred. The time of the event and the weather conditions are also figured in. Acceleration is calculated similarly by considering the factors of magnitude of acceleration, hard or hardcore, time of the event, and weather conditions. And for cornering, the score is based on both the speed of the turn and the G-force intensity. The idling threshold is set at 10 minutes, except for Canada and other northern regions where it is set at 15 minutes. It is calculated by the number of times the vehicle idled during the trip. Now that you know how your DriveSmart scores are calculated, keep an eye on your scores and work to make sure you are driving as safely as you possibly can. Let's be safe out there.